You know, I never imagined that I would have been on a TV show, let alone like NBC's The Titan Games. And, you know, I didn't even apply for it. You know, like casting directors were reaching out to me and I ignored them. You know, I was like, oh, that's not for me. I can't do that. Like, I'll never be selected anyways. And then eventually I was just like, what do I have to lose? And I went for it and it turned out for me. So I think what I would say to somebody else that's like even considering something like that or thinks, oh, I could do that, go for it. Like, if you've got nothing to, like, the worst someone can tell you is no. And when you get comfortable with someone telling you no, there's really not anything that you won't ask someone. Even when I was doing like the first portion of the show, I kept thinking in my head, looking at all these other different athletes, I was like, well, there's no way they're gonna select me for, you know, the actual show because they look way better than I do. And I thought in my head, you know, TV is all about appearance. You know, they're just gonna want someone that's shredded, or, you know, someone that looks aesthetically pleasing. And in my head, I thought, that's not me. And, you know, and it made me realize too, like, okay, like there's still some scar tissue there of thinking like I'm not adequate enough, like I'm not aesthetic enough. You know, obviously that wasn't the case, and obviously, you know, like they did want someone like me. So I think my message would also like to not sell yourself short, you know, like, you know, how you perceive yourself is not how everybody else is gonna perceive you. A part of me just didn't like the idea of having to be vulnerable on national television, international television. And I had to overcome a lot of like the introvert barriers that I have personally, and being open with my story. So I think that was honestly the hardest part to me going into the show, was just learning to be open. So, you know, after, you know, being on the Titan Games, I think what it did for me was just let me know that, you know, obviously my story can impact a lot of people at one time. And I think that's the aspect that I'm interested in, is like, okay, how many other ways can I get my story out there to as many people as possible in one take? And if that means that I'm on more shows, or I'm on more like areas where I can have like be a, you know, a spokesperson, then that's what I want to do. You know, being an intensely competitive person, when I first made the decision to retire officially from powerlifting and strongwoman due to my heart, it was really difficult at first because I didn't realize that my identity had been strongwoman athlete, powerlifter, until you take that away. And at first, it was like the first few months I was really, really depressed, and I was like, well, what do I do with myself? How do I train if I'm not training for something? And it was almost like I felt lost. And then this year, like, it's just been amazing how I've retuned my focus and refined my purpose of like, no, that's something I did, but that wasn't my identity. My identity is me. Like, this is my purpose. Like, everything that I've been through, those are just things that have helped shape me who I am. And learning that your identity doesn't come from different things that you compete in. Your identity comes from the type of person that you are. In the past, I would have told you exactly what I see myself doing 5 years in advance. But I think now I've gotten to the point where I understand that life can take so many twists and turns, and you have an idea of what you want to do, but you have no idea how life is going to turn out or what opportunities are going to open to you. So I think my mentality now for the next year is just to have that open door, you know, to see what opportunities come to my way. But obviously I'm staying on the track of like, okay, what's my purpose? And if my purpose is to inspire, to motivate, to coach, and, you know, to instruct and to teach people, then that's what I want to be doing regardless of like what opportunities come my way. You know, going back to when I was skinny, even though I thought in my head I was fat, and you know, your relationship with food is very twisted. So like if I'm out with friends or I'm out at dinner, like I'm looking at all this food that looks delicious, but in my head I can't eat it because my stomach's gonna be distended. You know, like the craziest things come into your head, or like you wake up in the morning and like you're hungry, but all I'm making is like a kale and water, maybe half a banana in a smoothie, because I don't want to be bloated for that day. And you're constantly thinking about like what's gonna make me look fat. And or if you do get pressured in eating while you're out, you immediately have to go to the bathroom because it's like, I can't, you feel so guilty. And it's just like this emotional turmoil that you go through. And then you go out and shopping for clothes. Like every girl will understand this. Like you go into a dressing room and then you hate what you see. And like in your head, you see all these imperfections. And I think the difference now versus then, it's like, you know, then I would have looked at Charity now and been like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to look like that. I don't want to be her. And now it's like you know, I go out with friends and I eat, and I don't even think about how it's gonna make me look. You know, like I go out and I shop for clothes. I'm in the change room. I'm like, yeah, I built this. You know, like I'm proud of it. And I think there's just such a confidence level that you have when you're in the gym training and you're building those muscles and you're fueling those muscles, that you don't look at food as like a guilty item, but you look at it as a source for energy and building strength and muscle. I think my first moment of thinking about like my image and my relationship with food had shifted was probably my first year into competing into powerlifting. I think the best advice I would give someone, male or female, that's struggling with like a food eating disorder or that relationship with food, like they look at it still as like a negative thing, would be to not feel guilty for your body needing food. Like your metabolism runs off energy, and just like you wouldn't drive your car on E, you can't go and hit the gym when you don't have any fuel in your system. So I think the hardest thing though is to realize that food doesn't make you fat. Number one, like food cannot make you fat. It's your choices. So you have a choice to eat the right foods. You have a choice to go to the gym. Like everything that you do is a choice. So if you start looking at things as, okay, is this gonna be a negative choice or a positive choice, and you align it with your goals, then you start to understanding that the relationship of, okay, I wanna get here, so I'm going to need to eat these things to get here. Then you start looking at food as more in a positive light, that it's gonna help you get to your goals. Being an athlete, I have had quite a few injuries. I've partially torn my hamstring, this left rotator. I also have scoliosis, so there's a lot of minor injuries that come with that. So during the height of my strongman career, I was popping ribs out all the time. And that shouldn't happen, right? And there was a point where my first and second rib came out, and that's such a dangerous like position for your ribs to come out because it could corrode an artery. And mine came out and this entire shoulder collapsed, and I could barely breathe. I couldn't move. Like standing hurt, sitting hurt, laying hurt, and getting adjusted hurt even worse. Like them trying to like literally push this gun behind my collarbone to knock those ribs back in place. So just, I think the intensity of training, and then especially with strongman, you know, I've got 2 herniated discs in my back, my L5, S1. I've knocked this shoulder completely out of socket doing a circus dumbbell press. It was going for 130 pounds. I got it, but I landed it and shifted in such a way that my shoulder knocked out of socket. You know, like boxing fractures. I think there's so many things that could and will go wrong. It's just a matter of time. You know, it's what you sign up for. I would say that, especially, I mean, there are ways in powerlifting that you can avoid, you know, injury based on like form and technique, but there comes a point where, you know, you're lifting so much weight that your joints, your bones, your ligaments, your tendons, like there's gonna be an age where all of that comes and catches up with you. And I think the same with Strongman, the difference is that you're so dynamic with all of that weight. So if there is any weak positions in your body, like whether it's tendons, ligaments, or just in those stability muscles, you're gonna get injured, absolutely. So having like nutritional supplements is super convenient and important because my schedule is so crazy. You know, like if I don't have time to go and heat up a meal or whatever, I've got my protein shake and I can just shake it up, put some water in there, and then at least that, like, I'm full, you know, like I'm getting fuel. And then, you know, if like I've got BCAAs, like, and if I'm tired during a workout because I've gotten such little sleep and, you know, and I need more carbs, I'll take like the BCAAs in with a protein shake and make sure that like I get through my workout. Raymond, come here. She's told me no. So I found Rayma originally in a gutter with the rest of her litter. You know, it was in not a good area, and it was clearly they were type of fight dogs, and there was a whole litter of them, and I found them all homes. I moved in, but she was only brittle, so I kept her. And it's been 5 years now, and we have been through a lot together, like a lot. You know, she's seen me in some pretty rough times. So to be able to have her here now and like see how relaxed and happy she is, like, that just makes me so happy. You know, I'm trying my best for her as much as I am for myself because she's been there for me when nobody else was.